morning, students. Mr. Clark back at you with another week of online learning. We had a really kind of small week last week, so we're going to kind of expand this week. We've got 3 assignments, and 2 of the 3 are projects. So let's get into it. As always, you can look at what you need to do through modules. I always suggest watching this video. We can go through modules, or you can click on the slideshow. We'll start with the first one, Positive Impacts of Globalization. Opens it up in a new tab. And here we are. The impacts of globalization says you are going to be researching the origin of a specific products found around the world. In doing so, you'll determine where certain objects originate and how they show globalization. So you get to choose any one of these things: iPhone, Adidas shoes, Toyota, or Kit Kat. And then you find out where it's made. And then you got to look at the materials where those things are made. So you might find Toyota and be like, oh, well, it's Japanese. It's made in Japan. But then you look into it, and it'll say Toyota. And then most like Toyota trucks that we find in the U.S. may be designed in Japan, but are actually built here in the U.S. at a few different plants. Kit Kats, you're going to find a lot of different stuff. They have all kinds of, there's a lot of interesting stuff. And then, you could look at shoes. Where does the rubber come from? It's not actually rubber. It's not a rubber tree. It's petroleum. Glass, metal, all that stuff. And you are going to do a little research as into those subjects. The second part of the assignment is that it asks you to look at one thing that has had a positive global impact: vaccinations, airplanes, printing press, internet, movies. This is just, you just find this info like on Google. So you Google this stuff. Make sure you get a good source though. That first sentence that Google gives you as a highlight from some website, choose a website that has good info, right? You want to find a reputable source. So that's it for positive impacts of globalization. There is some research to be done there, but yeah. Anyway, next assignment, again, we can click here, environmental impacts of globalization, or we can just hit next in Canvas. Now, when we look at the environmental impacts, we have a few things. We are going to look at the issues. What is the item used for? What are the negative consequences? How is globalism worsen the problem? And how could you have a positive impact on the issue? You're going to look at plastic, palm oil, dairy farms, diamonds, chocolate, and oil. And then this is the part that I'm going to pay attention to all of this, but this part right here is where you internalize all this information, right? What do you think is the most urgent in need of attention? And then why do you think that is in the most urgent need of attention? That's it for that assignment, environmental impacts of globalism. And the last assignment is where you're going to create a brochure. Sure, bro. You can do this in any different way. You can do it digitally through Adobe Spark or Google Slides. Or if you're sick of staring at a screen, you can get a piece of paper and have a little art project. So our North America travel brochure is going to look like this. The instructions tell you to pick a country from North America. There's a whole list here of regions or countries. Even though Alaska is part of the United States, it's pretty different than the United States. And then these are all the things you need. When I think brochure, this is what I think of. You've got 3 pages on the front, 3 pages in the back, hence 6 pages. But be creative. As long as you include all of this information, title and picture, description of food and a picture, description of some cultural event, sporting event, or other part of their culture, include a picture, describe a description of a physical feature and picture, description of a city and region in a picture, and then lastly, description of some place you'd like to visit and a picture. So they'll be grading on how well your information represents the area and how convincing you are to try to convince someone to come to the area. So as we're talking about globalization, we're trying to tell people to come to North America where we live. And this is kind of even though you're not going to do the United States here, there's a lot of regions and information that you could do about that. If you have any questions, send me an email. that's it for this week. Hope you're all doing great and staying safe out there. And as we always sign off here at Fort Harriman Middle School, we love you, we care about you, and make it a great day.